Time Office Hours week number 4. The weeks are flying by. Myself and the team are back from a very fun week in Vegas. It was great to meet some of you out there. Great to showcase Passport Prime in the wild. Got some awesome feedback from those of you that did make it out there. So always a fun time to be able to do that and interact with you guys. As I say, welcome back. This is week 4 of Primetime Office Hours, hosted again inside our Rome Virtual Office Auditorium. My name's Ben and I'm Head of Customer Experience here at Foundation, and I will once again be your host for today's session. If you're joining us live, feel free to give us an emoji wave. I know some of you guys have already done it in part of my pre-recording testing, so thank you for that. Feel free to make use of the chat to chat with the other guests and let us know where you're joining from. We'd love to know where you're all tuning in from. Quick bit of housekeeping before we kick things off. Just like every other week, these sessions are going to be recorded and everything that we cover is going to be posted to our YouTube channel, links for which will be shared with you all via email later this week, likely tomorrow. So if you're watching this back on YouTube, hello, and thank you for catching up with us. If you're joining live, feel free to ask questions as we go. Just tap the Ask a Question button and your mic will go live. Just make sure that you are not also muted locally so that we can hear you. We can only take one question at a time, so please wait until the question area is free when there's a natural break in my presentation or demo before you hop up and start speaking. When you have asked your question, make sure to hop back down to the audience to keep the question area free for other guests. If you've got your Passport Prime with you now, get it out. Today is going to be another hands-on session, so having the device in front of you will make this a whole lot more valuable. If you're still waiting on yours, that's fine. Don't worry. As I say, these are recorded, so you're going to be able to follow along with everything that we cover and apply that when your device arrives, so no worries there. Okay, quick sit rep as to where we're up to. We are in week number 4. Our last session, which was 2 weeks ago, because we had the brief hiatus with Vegas, was about the Bitcoin app showcase, where I walked you through the entire Bitcoin wallet application on Passport Prime. This included how to send and receive, to manage multiple accounts, apply passphrases, get started with multi-sig, and connect with all of the awesome third-party wallets out there if Envoy is not for you. Today marked week number 4 and is the second of the app-specific deep dives. This week, we're going to be covering 2 applications, the Security Keys app and the 2FA applications. Over the remaining weeks, we're also going to be diving into the Files and Vault apps, and then we'll wrap up with a look at what's next. And you guys will actually get a bit of a showcase as to what I've been working on personally as a little bit of a side project. So I'm excited to show you guys that in the final week as well. If this is the first session you've been able to catch, don't worry, and don't forget to go back and catch up on the previous sessions because they do all build upon one another. Just search Foundation Devices in YouTube and you'll be able to see the Primetime playlist over there. So this week we're stepping away from Bitcoin for a session and we're talking about 2 apps that don't get nearly enough attention, and 2 of my favorites actually. Most of you probably came to Prime initially for the Bitcoin side, which is fair. That's where, we at Foundation have built our reputation. But as you probably are already well aware now, especially if this isn't your first Primetime Office Hours, is that Passport Prime is way more than just a Bitcoin device. It's more of we use the term personal security device or platform. And these 2 apps, the keys and the security keys and the 2FA apps, or where this kind of deviation away from just Bitcoin really starts to show. Your logins, your 2FA codes, and are the keys to your digital life. Your email, your banking, your social accounts, work accounts, the whole lot. If any of those get compromised, the damage can often dwarf anything that could happen to your Bitcoin these days because we live so much in the online world. And right now, most people, unfortunately, are protecting that stuff with simple passwords, or maybe they've taken a step towards SMS, 2-factor authentication. There might be some more power users amongst you that may maybe use something like a YubiKey, where you've bought it once and maybe stuck it in a drawer. Well, Prime does all of these jobs in one device, and it does them way better, in my opinion. So here's what we're going to cover today. 3 main areas plus some questions, as always. First off, set the scene, why these apps matter and what hardware-backed authentication actually gets you over what you may or may not be using already. Then we'll do a demo of the 2FA app. We'll explain what it is before the demo, of course. And, some of you, I'm sure, will be using applications like Authy or Google Authenticator for those 2FA codes. So I'm going to be walking through that, the standard, and why Prime is better for these. And then we're going to walk through the Passport Prime Keys app or Security Keys app. This turns Prime into a FIDO security key for your logins and your two-factor authentication for all of your online services, wherever that is supported, which thankfully is a growing list of places these days. Same format as the other weeks. I'm going to set the scene for each one, and then we'll go live with a demo so you can see it working in practice. The demo will be shorter this time because these apps are quite simple in the way that they are set up and used, but we'll go start to finish with each one. And there'll be more than ample opportunity at the end to ask any questions if you do have any. All right, so there might be some beginners here who are thinking, what the hell is two-factor or 2FA? So I want to do a quick level setter before we go any further, because not everybody uses the term or is even familiar with the term 2FA. 2FA stands for two-factor authentication, and the idea is pretty straightforward. To log into an online account, you prove who you are with two different things instead of just one. The first is something that you know, your password, and the second is something that you have, usually your phone, or sometimes it can be a hardware key like a YubiKey or a Passport Prime. The reason that this exists is that single factor on its own, i.e., just logging in with a password, is vulnerable, it's brittle, and it can fail. We literally see on a daily basis at the moment that password databases get leaked. Phones can get stolen, but if an attacker needs both at the same time, then the bar to accessing your online life goes up significantly. They'd need your password and physical access to wherever your second factor authentication lives in the same window without you realizing to be able to access your precious online data. In practice, second factor online authentication takes two different forms: a code that can often be texted to your phone, or a 6-digit code using the TOTP standard from an app like Authy or Google Authenticator. And those are those codes that rotate every 30 seconds. Or sometimes it can be a push notification that you approve. I know Google and Apple do this within their own respective ecosystems. Or there is also the hardware key that you can tap or plug in. And obviously the most well-known amongst that type of standard, known as the FIDO standard, is the YubiKey, or sometimes there is also an alternative called a Nitro key, which operates in a similar way. They all do the same job in principle. They prove that you have something, but as we're going to dive into in just a second, they're not equally as good at it. The analogy that I like to use and that I've seen used widely online is, think of it as having two locks on the same door. Your password is one lock, and then the second factor authentication, whichever format that takes, is the second lock. And an attacker, to be able to get into whichever online service it is we're talking about, has to pick both. So we've alluded to this a little bit as to the concept of what two-factor authentication is, but I want to double click a little bit on why it matters, because I know this might be obvious to some of you, but with the proliferation of increasing amounts of online vulnerabilities, AI, penetration testing, this has never been more important. Passwords on their own, unless you're very sophisticated and you like to use a password manager and you like to use those types of segregated pieces of software, are vulnerable. The reality is that most people, unfortunately, are still reusing the same password for all of their online accounts. And that means that if they don't have two-factor authentication, unfortunately, one breach can potentially mean that multiple, if not all, if you're using passwords in the most naive way possible, can be susceptible to online attacks. Every other week, there's another breach, another set of logins ending up somewhere they shouldn't. And if a password is the only thing protecting your account or multiple accounts, then you are putting yourself in a very dangerous position where your online life is very vulnerable. Adding second factor authentication helps, but the kind that you choose does matter because they are not all equal. SMS codes are the most common, unfortunately, and these can be redirected if somebody is able to take over your phone number. And again, this is something else that is becoming increasingly common these days, and it's known as SIM swapping. The code from your authenticator app can be tricked out of you in real time. This is less common, but it does happen. And the way that that works is simple enough. An attacker sets up a login page that looks identical to the real one that you're expecting. You type your password in and your 2FA code, and behind the scenes, their malicious page passes that straight through to the real site and logs them in as you. You never see anything go wrong. The site looked right, the code worked, the login went through, the seed in your authenticator app is fine, but that one login session was enough to get them into that specific account. As I say, this is less common, but it does happen. So this is where hardware security keys close that gap. When you tap Passport Prime, and I'll show you how to do this later, to log in or to provide that second layer of authentication, or it could be a YubiKey, the device checks the site that is asking for it is actually the site that you registered it with. So is this google.com and not google.com with four O's instead of 2? A lookalike page fails that check. You can't be tricked into approving a login on the wrong site because the device simply won't do it. And the reason that this matters for Passport Prime specifically is that you've already got the device, you're already carrying it for Bitcoin. So instead of buying a separate security key and an additional one to kind of back those up, which is unfortunately the way that you have to do these days, and instead of trusting an app on the same phone that you're trying to protect, your Passport Prime doubles as the strongest factor of two-factor authentication available. One device, all your accounts, no extra hardware, no backup hardware to worry about or have to consider or pay for, more importantly. So why is SMS so bad? Yeah, unfortunately, this SMS two-factor authentication is still pretty terrible and still really prevalently used, unfortunately. And it seems to be the default way, particularly for legacy systems like banking. You give them your phone number, they text you a code, you type it in. It's easy, it works, and for years that has been the standard advice. Is it better than nothing or just a password? Absolutely. But the problem is that SMS texts were never designed to carry security codes or anything that should be secret, essentially. It was designed, way back in the 80s to send short messages between phones. The protocol underneath it has barely changed. There is no encryption. The codes can be intercepted in transit on networks that an attacker may have access to. And most importantly, your phone number isn't truly yours. It belongs to your carrier, and your carrier, as history has proved us to be true time and time and time again, your carrier can be talked into changing the number or moving it to a different SIM card controlled by somebody else that's not you. This is called a SIM swap. Somebody calls your mobile provider, they claim to be you, they give enough personal information to pass the security check, which oftentimes, unfortunately, is just your address and your date of birth, and they ask to move your number to a new SIM card, which they control, and the carrier accepts it, thinking it's you. Your phone goes dark, their phone lights up, and every SMS code that was meant for you now lands on their phone in their pocket. They can reset your email, they can log into your bank, they can log into your exchange and withdraw all of your Bitcoin or your crypto. Terrible, terrible idea. And this is really not rare. I know it sounds like I'm scaremongering here, but the FBI tracked $26 million in reported SIM swap losses just a couple of years ago, and that number has only since increased. The average victim back then was losing $9,000. In the UK, reported cases have jumped over 1,000% in a single year, and the carriers know that they are the weak link. T-Mobile lost a $33 million arbitration case last year over a single swap that drained one customer's crypto wallet. Let that sink in, that's one customer, and they lost $33 million. Scary stuff. So the rule of thumb is pretty simple. If a service offers SMS as the only second factor authentication, it's better than nothing. But if it offers an authenticator app or hardware security key as well, absolutely you should be using one of those and turn off that SMS-based 2FA immediately. The Prime 2FA app is the better option if you have only option is an authenticator app, the TOTP codes. But if they do offer the security keys app, we'll come to that next. This is the better option of all three. And between them, you can move every account that you care about off SMS, or you should I say. Okay, so let's do a bit of a deep dive into the two types of 2FA. And I know this can be slightly confusing because one of the apps on Passport Prime is called 2FA, but as we've established, second factor authentication for your online accounts takes two primary forms, and that's what these two applications on Passport Prime do. So the 2FA codes app on Prime, if you've used Authy or Google Authenticator or Aegis or Proton Pass or anything in that kind of realm, this will be very familiar for you. It does the same job, it just lives on a different home, it lives offline on Passport Prime. The technical name for what these apps do is TOTP, which stands for time-based one-time password. It is published on an open standard, which for those that are interested is RFC 6238, if you want to go and look that up. And it's what almost every site means when they offer the quote authenticator app as a two-factor option. Twitter, Google, GitHub, your bank, your exchange, your email, the list thankfully these days runs into the thousands, and it's very commonplace to be able to add this as a layer of security to most of your online accounts. Works very simply. When you set it up, the site that or the account that you want to add this two-factor authentication to will show you a QR code. You scan it with your authenticator app, and the app generates a fresh 6-digit code that rolls around and recycles into a new 6-digit code every 30 seconds. You type in the currently active code alongside your password when you want to log in, and there you have provided both of those things, something that you know, your password, and something that you have that 30-second 6-digit code. The difference with Passport Prime is, of course, where those codes live. On a phone-based authenticator, the seed, which is kind of the ability to generate these codes every 30 seconds, or the secret, sits in an app on a device that's online all day, runs sometimes hundreds of different apps and whatever software that you've installed, and probably backs itself up to a cloud that you are not in full control of. That's especially true with the Google ecosystem. On Passport Prime, the seed lives offline on your Passport Prime hardware. The codes are generated by the device itself, they get displayed on the screen, and the secrets never have to touch your phone. If your phone gets compromised tomorrow, your 2FA codes are not vulnerable. And crucially here again, backups for these 2FA codes and all of the seeds that derive them happen automatically through our Magic Backup system if you chose to enable that during onboarding. Your 2FA secrets are encrypted, of course, on Passport Prime with your master key that only the device holds and only you have access to. And all of the encrypted metadata, which we covered off in week 2, is stored on the Foundation servers. We can't read it. Nobody at Foundation can access it. The server just holds the encrypted ciphertext. The only person that can download that and decrypt it is the person that controls your master key, i.e. you. If your Passport Prime is lost or damaged, you just go through the recovery process that I again demonstrated in week 2. You grab yourself a new Passport Prime, you go through the onboarding process, but instead of generating a new master key, you restore your existing one using the tap of a key card, and your master key is restored, and all of the encrypted metadata is restored from the Foundation server, including all of your 2FA codes, so you don't get yourself locked out of your online accounts. You don't have any unencrypted cloud account to manage, no micro SD cards to keep track of, no recovery email chain that may or may not become compromised in the future. So pretty powerful stuff, and the app itself is super, super simple. So let's talk about why, I've already talked about why this matters more than SMS. My slides are in the slightly wrong order, but that is the 2FA codes app, and I'm going to show you how to set that up very shortly. But before I do that, I want to cover off the other app that we're talking about today, the Security Keys app on Passport Prime. This is the other way that Passport Prime handles your online two-factor authentications. Where the 2FA app generates codes that you type in, the Keys app on Passport Prime turns Passport Prime into the second factor itself. So the way in which it works is to authenticate. You either tap the screen on Prime if it's plugged into your computer via USB, or you tap the device physically against your phone to authenticate using the NFC connectivity. The standard behind this ecosystem is FIDO, F-I-D-O, for those of you that want to go and look that up. Once again, this is an open protocol and it powers all of the common security keys across the industry. Again, the most common would be YubiKeys. That's the kind of family name in this ecosystem. And what was I going to say? I've lost my train of thought. Where have I gone? Where's my notes? Yeah, so if a site offers a security key as a 2FA option, underneath that is FIDO, or if they mention YubiKey, again, it's that FIDO standard and Passport Prime will be compatible. A quick note on where we're at with this in terms of Passport Prime. Passport Prime currently, as of today, we are recording the 5th of May 2026, supports the FIDO 1, which is the second factor authentication standard. Very shortly, in the next major release of Passport Prime, we will have full support for FIDO 2, which adds passwordless login and the passkey standard as well, so that you can actually use this as the password to log into your online accounts. But to be clear, that's not going to be ready until, I may have misspoke, I think it's going to be version 1.4. So for today's session, what I'm focusing on is using the Security Keys app as that second factor authentication, which is that FIDO 1 standard, which again is very commonplace across all of the popular services, so Google, Apple, Microsoft, GitHub, etc. All of the password managers, Bitcoin exchanges, all support this FIDO 1 standard, and that's what we are demonstrating today. Again, the app itself is super simple to use. When you register a new key that Passport Prime is managing with a site, the device will generate a brand new key pair specifically for that site. The private key will never leave Passport Prime, and the public key goes or is shared with the site. Every site that you register can get its own unique key, so even if one site gets breached, none of your other accounts are exposed. There's no shared secret to steal. There's no code to socially engineer for an attacker. It's something that lives locally and is used to authenticate at the time of login by tapping Passport Prime with NFC or by plugging it in with to your computer, excuse me. And I'm going to demonstrate both of those very shortly. And just like I said about the metadata backups with the 2FA app, the same is also true for the Security Keys app. So all of that backup stuff that I mentioned 10 minutes ago with Magic Backups and how you can recover them is also true of all of your Security Keys apps. So that is the basics of the apps, the standards, and why you why it's a great idea to secure your online life with these standards. What I want to do next is just quickly talk about, why these apps on the surface of it seem to do the same thing. So why would you choose one over the other? Both are very strong. Either one is a serious step up from either just using a password or using a password plus SMS authentication. If you're using the Passport Prime 2FA app on your important accounts, you're already a very small minority of users that are doing this properly, and you've made a great step forward. But with that said, the Security Keys app, where available, does have one specific advantage worth understanding. When you tap Prime to log in with the Keys app, the device and the website exchange a cryptographic challenge that is tied to the website's actual web address. The hardware itself will check the address for you, and if something is pretending to be your bank or your exchange with a malicious URL that looks very similar to what you would expect on like a lookalike domain, Passport Prime simply won't sign for it and it won't log you in. It will fail the authentication. You can't accidentally approve a login on the wrong site because the device handles that check for you. With the TOTP or the 6-digit 2FA codes, you're the one that has to look at the address bar, and that's a job that humans are not great at, especially if it's a clever lookalike domain or you're using a small screen like your phone. So the practical answer ultimately is that you're probably going to use both, which is by design, although not on the same website, obviously. Security keys are the better choice where they are supported, but the 6-digit 2FA codes are still the more common option. The list of supporting sites is long and growing, but it's not fully universal yet. We've still got a lot of work to do. A lot of services that you care about will probably still only offer the 6-digit 2FA codes, but that's where where it can still shine. It can still drastically improve your online security, especially if you're not using 2FA at all or you're using that SMS based option. So the rough hierarchy basically is if a site supports security keys, use the Keys app. If it only supports an authenticator app, then that's still a great option and it's still a big step up from SMS based 2FA. And yeah, just I won't dwell on this one too much. This is stolen from a previous week, just talking about the backups, but I think I've pretty much covered that anyway. Like the 2FA apps codes and your security keys that you generate on device are all kept in that magic backup. So this is where it really starts to shine and where it becomes really powerful from a kind of data longevity perspective. If you're a Magic Backup user, which is the default way to use Passport Prime, then all of the good stuff that I'm talking about today and all of the stuff that I'm about to demonstrate is automatically being backed up for you in an encrypted fashion and will automatically be restored for you in the event that you do need to recover Passport Prime using your keycards. All right, I am going to switch over to screen share in just a second and we'll show you how these applications work. Amy, I can't see the audience, but just let me know if there's any questions popped into the chat just while we're on a quick switch over. If not, I will get cracking. Okay, let me just align everything up for you guys. Tell you what, no phone for now. Okay, let me zoom in a bit. Can somebody give me a thumbs up if they can see my camera on? Perfect, thank you very much. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to demonstrate the security keys app first. So I need to switch my screen share over so that you can see my browser. Oh, we do have a quick question. I can see somebody on the mic. I can't. Oh, it's Mike. Mike is on the mic. Nice. Yeah, go ahead, Mike. You should be able to unmute yourself and ask your question. I'm not hearing you, Mike, so you might still be muted locally. Yeah, Mike, I'm still not hearing you. So if you want to maybe just step down back to the audience and just check out your mic settings, just in case anybody else needs to pop up. What I'll do is I'll carry on with the demonstration. Can you guys confirm that you can see my camera and my web browser where I'm on WebAuthn.io? Awesome. I've got a sea of thumbs up. Thank you very much. Okay, so security keys app. Let me try and zoom in a bit just a touch more. Is it going to focus? Wonderful. So I'm going to walk you guys through generating a key first. Very simple. We're just going to open the Keys app. You'll be met with an empty screen. So all I'm going to do is tap on New Key. Super simple. There's not many options here. You're just going to give the key a label and choose a color for it. So I'm going to just call this one demo, but obviously if you guys are, let's say you're logging in, you're generating a key to secure your Amazon account, then obviously call that key Amazon so that you can identify it in the future. I'm going to make this one yellow and then press done and save. In terms of creating a key, that is literally it. That's all you need to do. Passport Prime has saved that now and that will be automatically backed up as part of my Magic Backups. So now that the key is set up, I've got two ways that I can use this to register it with a website or service. I can do it via USB or I can do it via NFC. So let's do it via USB first. So I'm just going to plug the device into my computer. And then again, this website that you can see here is purely for demo purposes, but the process is going to be very similar to any of your online accounts. So when you go to, let's say, your Google account or your Amazon account, you'll have the option to add a security key. And basically all it will say is, plug the device in and then press the register button. So I'm going to give this a username, just call it demo. And then I'm going to click on register. Let me just refresh the page. It might be a bit stale. Going to open the key on Passport Prime and then choose register. Okay. Ignore the pop-up. That's the Apple-based pop-up that wants to add a passkey on the screen. What we're looking at now is what you can see on screen where it says confirm registration. So basically Passport Prime is saying, do you want to register this key with this service? All you need to do is tap confirm. We can see success. So the key is now registered with the online service. The next step is to use it to authenticate to the service. So the idea being that you have logged out, you may be gone about your day, and then you need to log back into the service next week. This is where that second layer or that two-factor authentication really starts to shine. So you would go to Amazon or to Google, you type in your password, and now that you have the security key registered, when you click login, you will get a secondary pop-up that says, okay, now you need to authenticate with the security key that you have registered with your account. So to do that on this demo, all I need to do is open the key, click on authenticate, and as you can see there, Passport Prime has said that the authentication has been submitted. It's used the second factor authentication with the service, and as you can see on my screen share, we are now logged in. Couldn't be simpler. That's literally it in terms of using it plugged in with your computer. Obviously, the only difference that you guys are going to experience is the kind of access of registering the key with that account. Now, I can't demonstrate all of those because each, Amazon and Google and Apple, they're all going to have slightly different, security settings. And it's just a case of navigating your way into generally the security settings of your profile to add that security key. And then once it's registered using the method I've just shown, you will be prompted to provide that authentication every time that you then go to log in. Amy's just sent me a great reminder of that I'm going to demonstrate how to delete keys or how to archive them afterwards. But before I do that, I just want to demonstrate the NFC side of the security keys app. The premise is almost identical. It's just a case of instead of, let me just unplug this. Instead of physically plugging the device into your computer, you may want to log into the account on your phone. So once again, I have a demo website that you can see on my phone. This is the one that's hosted by YubiKey. And for this one, I'm going to use the exact same key. In reality, what you would do is that you generate a new key for the new account. And what I'm going to do is open the key up. And I'm going to try and register with this new account. Again, I've got the Apple pop-up because Apple offers a way for you to do the passkey authentication. Let me just retry. So with Passport Prime on this screen, the key is open. I'm just going to tap it to the top of the phone. No, I'm not. I've missed a step. I'm going to go to more options, and then I'm going to tell it that I want to use a security key and tap continue. Now it wants me to tap that, tap Passport Prime to the top. I just rest that on there. There we go. Registration has been completed. Exactly the same screen on Passport Prime. It tells you that the registration has been submitted, and the service that you're logging into also shows the same thing. So I go back and then open that key again. And then this time I'm going to authenticate. works in the exact same way. I'm going to tap next. I'm going to get the Apple pop-up. Again, Android will have something similar. I'm going to tell it that I'm using a physical security key, and I just give it a little tap. The authentication has been submitted on Passport Prime, and the authentication was successful on the demo website. That's literally all there is to it, guys. It's as simple as that. You make a key for a service, you give it a tap if you're using NFC, or you physically plug it into your computer with a USB cable. You register the key, and then anytime that you need to log into that account, you'll be asked to either physically present Passport Prime via NFC, or just tap on the Passport Prime screen to open the key and physically connect it via USB cable to your online accounts. Could not be simpler. All right, thank you for the reminder, Amy. So there may be, you may have stale keys or keys that you no longer need to use. And just like with the other apps, it's a very similar process that you might want to kind of remove it from view or archive it. So you tap the three dots in the top right. You can tap on edit, tap on the key that you want to edit, and then you can either change the label, change the color, or if it's no longer required, you can choose archive key. And as you can see, it has now been removed from my primary list. But let's say I've made a mistake and I'm like, oh crap, I archived the wrong key. I can tap the three dots, I can view my archive, and there are all my archived keys. And if I want to restore one, I can tap on it and then tap restore. And if I go back to the primary screen of the security keys app, there is that key fully restored and ready for use again. I told you there wasn't much to it, guys. It's super simple, this one. And the 2FA app works in a very, very similar way. So let me move on to the 2FA app. As you can see, we have an empty state. And I'm just going to switch over to a different browser tab. Can you guys confirm that you can see the 2FA test app on my screen share? Awesome, thank you very much. So what you're looking at here, again, it's just a demo. It's something that one of the team built internally. Again, it's just so that I don't have to log into my Amazon account live and dock myself. Obviously, I don't want to do that. So this is just for demonstration purposes. So the 6-digit 2FA codes app works in a very similar way. What we are going to do is pretend that we've gone into our, let's say, Amazon or Facebook settings, and we've said, I want to secure my authenticator, I want to secure my account with an authenticator app. So when you enable that, this will give you a quick demo of, demo. This will give you a demo, and you can give it the issuer. So let's say it's going to be Google. And what will happen then is the service will give you a static QR code. So when you go into Amazon, Facebook, or whatever, and you say, yeah, I want to secure my account with a 6-digit 2FA authenticator app, the first thing you'll see is a static QR code. So over on Passport Prime, to register this with this authenticator app, you tap on new code, and it brings up the camera straight away. All you need to do is scan that QR code on the screen. Passport Prime relays all of the information, so you can see the label, the account information, and the issuer. These will generally be pre-populated for you based on whichever account that you are using. Again, you can choose the color for it, and then you can tap on save. There, just like within the security keys app, you have a new kind of account or a 2FA code there. And as you can see, it's scrolling around every 30 seconds. So we've got 3, 2, 1, and now it's going to change. And the observant among you will see that the code on Passport Prime matches the code here, which is the expected one from the demo. So the way that this works now, it's registered, is that let's pretend this was my Amazon account. I go to log in, I give it my password, and then I will get a prompt to be basically to say, this account is protected by an authenticator app. Please give me the current live 6-digit 2FA code. And as you can see, that rolls around every 30 seconds. So as long as you put the correct 6 digits in at the right time, it will authenticate and it will log you into the account. If you put a stale code in, it won't work. If you put the wrong code in, it won't work. So basically, you need physical access to your Passport Prime to be logged in, to be able to see those scrolling 6-digit codes, and then provide them to the account that you want to log in. And just like with the Security Keys app, if you tap on a code and then tap edit, you can edit any of the details, you can change the color, or you can archive the code. And as you can see, it's completely gone from my list. Just like with the Security Keys app, if you make a mistake, just tap on a key and you can choose delete, or you can choose restore, and it will end up back on your primary screen. And that's literally it, guys. Like I say, I've said it multiple times on this call. The 2FA codes and the Security Keys app could not be simpler, but they are really, really powerful in terms of being able to secure your entire digital life. Like for the simplicity that it takes, or the small amount of time it takes to be able to set this up and have it automatically backed up thanks to Magic Backups, versus the increase in security that you get for all of your online accounts, it really is a no-brainer to make sure that all of your accounts are locked down via one of these methods. And I did say that this was going to be a shorter one. That's literally the end of my demo. There's loads of time for questions. So if anybody has anything that they want me to recap on, to demo again, or just to take any questions on, feel free to hop up now, guys. I'll go quiet so that you guys can take the mic stand and let me know if you have any questions. And Amy, I don't know if you can check the text-based chat and just send me a DM if there's anything that's come through. I can see somebody on the mic, but I am not hearing you if you're speaking.
Okay, sorry, I was going to wait to be called upon. Can you hear me now?
Oh, Mason, sorry. Mason, you're live. I can hear you. Thanks for stopping by to ask a question. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate this. This is one of my main use cases for the Passport Prime. My question is, it sounds like currently the keys are based on a key that is made on device then backed up. I know that Ledger is able to support keys as well, but I believe theirs are derived from the seed phrase. For someone who doesn't want to rely on magic backups and the risk of losing a backup file, are you able to retool, or does this already work that you can rederive these same keys from the seed phrase if all you have is the seed phrase? I think that's a little bit of a risk, losing that backup file, but the seed phrase, if you're relying on having that backed up on metal, it provides a nice clean way to make sure that it's derived without having to also save a file on hot storage somewhere.
Yeah, good question. If I'm being honest, that is one I'm going to have to double check with the engineers and come back to you on. I'm not 100% certain as to whether these are deterministically derived. The only concrete answer I can give you right now is if you are a user that doesn't want to use Magic Backups, you can have them backed up offline, but as you sort of alluded to, is that you would need to back up the settings file and store that somewhere away from Prime. But it is possible to have all of the additional metadata backed up in a way that you don't have anything stored on our servers, and you would restore that in a very similar way. The only change being that when you restore the master key, instead of it automatically, contacting the server with the hash of your master key to be basically requesting, say, is there any information on the server, encrypted information that is associated with this hash? Passport Prime will just say, okay, great, I can see that you are a manual user. Do you have any metadata that you want to bring with you? If so, yeah, insert the file into the device. What I will do is take that more technical question about the derivation of the keys away and get back to you on it. I'm trying to think how I can. Do you want to? If you just send us an email to say that,
I'll post it on the forum.
that would be perfect. Yeah, that would be great idea. Thank you for your question. And sorry, I couldn't give you a full concrete answer. I didn't want to cast aspersions and give you incorrect info. But good question, and I'll make sure I answer you on the forum ASAP. And Mason, if you don't have any more questions, if you could just hop down just in case anybody else wants to pop up and ask something. Thank you.
Hello.
Hello, Owen.
There was actually a great question in the chat that I wanted to make sure we get to, which is that there was a discussion again with Mason, who sounds really knowledgeable about this key stuff, as to whether it is smart to reuse the same key on multiple websites so that you are not giving away with like your key name in the passport, like what it's for or something, or whether it is smarter to use different ones for each website. And he made a great point with the naming thing that I hadn't considered. So maybe you could think about that for the rest of the audience.
Yeah, I think for me, I would prefer to have segregation. The reality of these types of attacks, and I'll be honest, the actual technical details of how they're achieved is a little bit above my pay grade. But what I will say is that having separate keys, especially when they are so easy to create, so easy to back up, just makes perfect sense for having that layer of segregation that if somehow one of your keys was to become compromised, which hopefully it's clear enough by now that this is very difficult with an offline device, and the way in which this authentication works is that it's very resistant to phishing. Like, you can't receive a dodgy email and then have your one of your security keys extracted from the device. Like, that's not how the authentication works. It's a more of a challenge response. So reusing the same key is not that detrimental, because ultimately that's how most people use YubiKeys. Is people don't have multiple YubiKeys for all of their online accounts. But for me, that additional layer of segregation, where Passport Prime is kind of a new paradigm here, where it's never been possible before to have multiple without buying more than one YubiKey. So for me, the fact that they're so easy to create and the fact that they're so easy to back up makes sense, and you can have them clearly labeled and clearly separated. But is it absolutely critical? Probably not. Like I say, YubiKeys have been around for a long time and they are proven to be very secure.
That's a great point. It's kind of fun to think about. Like, maybe you might want to segregate them a little bit. Maybe you have one that's like for just socials and stuff, and there's one that's like the GitHub master signing commit thingy or something, like something really, really important that you don't want mixed up. And then maybe there are things that you want separated where you want to not have to give them a name that gives away what they're for or something. I don't know. That's fun.
Yeah, indeed. And you've just reminded me actually of something that I probably should have mentioned earlier in the presentation around drawing the comparison with YubiKeys. When people buy YubiKeys to use like the security key FIDO standard to secure their online accounts, there is no way for you to back up those keys. What YubiKey actually recommend you do is buy more than one. So if you want to have the similar sort of backup methodology or architecture, I guess, that Passport Prime offers, like you could potentially have to buy multiple YubiKeys to be able to achieve the same thing. And this is why, again, Passport Prime combined with the Magic Backups, even the offline version, I guess, where you do it yourself, where they're all stored encrypted with your master key, like that has never ever been possible before with any form of FIDO tool. Like, this is where Passport Prime is really kind of breaking ground. So, the price tag might make some people balk, but when you look at, some of these YubiKeys, especially the ones with biometric authentication on them, they're $100 each or £100 each, so probably slightly more in dollars. So you can quickly, if you buy one-on-one to back it up, you're well over 2/3 of the way towards a Passport Prime. And again, hopefully it's clear enough by now, but Passport Prime does way more than just FIDO. So thank you for mentally prompting me there, even if you may not have intended it, Owen. Appreciate it.
Happy to help. Let me step down and make space for others. Thanks.
All right, quick pause just in case anybody else has any final questions. And if not, I will start wrapping us up. If you do have a question, feel free to hop up just while I begin the wrap up. But yeah, thank you very much for stopping by once again, guys. I will get the email recap posted out to you via email and onto YouTube ASAP. Likely going to be tomorrow morning now, as it's as you can see from the screen share, getting late, getting towards my my dinner time. Really appreciate you guys stopping by. Some great questions. Mason, I will definitely respond to your post on the forum. Thank you for asking that question. And for suggesting the forum. It's a great idea. If you haven't checked the forum out, please do go and sign up. There's a wealth of information and a lot of intelligent customers there asking some really cool questions and having great discussions. So maybe check that out, community.foundation.xyz. It's a great little self-shill for us there. Yeah, appreciate you all stopping by. Next week, we are going to be reverting back to the original time. I had to push it back this week due to some family commitments. So we will be back at midday Eastern, 5 p.m. London time, or whatever that equates to for you guys all around the world. And we will be covering off the Vault app as well as the Files application as well. See how you can store all of those offline. Same sort of format, bit of theory at the start, set the scene, talk about the standards, and I'll give you a live demo. So have a think ahead. If you plan on attending, we'll be emailing out the details as always and bring your questions with you. Thank you all for stopping by, and we will catch you again next week.